Well, I'm Richard Elphick and I head up the conservation section of space architecture. We look after a number of National Trust properties for them around the northeastern region. I started off working for the Trust 20 years ago, and this particular property is probably my favourite in that it was the first one that I received instructions on. This is Cragside, built by William Armstrong, later known as Lord Armstrong, and designed by Norman Shaw, the famous Victorian architect. What have we done here? Well, it's been 20 years of very modest but careful conservation work. A few years ago we were involved providing conservation advice for the rewiring of the whole house, and that was a very complicated process whereby we had to put new wiring in such that no damage was done to the structure or the fabric of the house when it was done. And as you can see, this particular room, the library, has got panelling, original wallpaper, floorboards and other very sensitive features, and we were able to contribute to the design team's input in making sure that none of these features were damaged. We're now in the drawing room. This room was built in around about 1883 as a later addition to the house. It's an absolutely fantastic double-storey space. Our intervention in this particular area was to replace the skylight on the roof. The original skylight had been leaking and was letting too much light in, possibly damaging the pictures, and we used ultraviolet sensitive glass to make sure that the pictures and the sensitive fabrics and anything that's got colour below could be as protected as much as possible. Here we are on this fantastic bridge that Armstrong designed, which is part of the original vision he had for his house in a landscape similar to that of being in the Himalayas. Just recently, with funding, we've spent £600,000 on the structural stabilisation of the bridge and its restoration, with also enhancements including safety balustrading. Here we are in the visitor centre. This used to be the stable block where Armstrong kept all his horses. We've undertaken a full refurbishment of the visitor centre, including new kitchens, stores, servery and restaurant area. And just with the latest addition of this glass canopy that I'm talking below, which allows people to sit outside but still enjoy being in the fresh air. And what you see behind me now on the north facade is that wonderful asymmetric balance that Norman Shaw designed, with roofs projecting up and down, in and out, with very complicated internal lead valley gutters, all of which could easily leak. And we've been undertaking a considerable number of small repairs projects over the years, repointing stonework, removing rising damp, dry rot and wet rot, and making sure that this house is in the best of condition for the next 100 years. Personally, I love this house, in particular its Victorian imagery and splendour, its theatrical nature, and how it was originally conceived off this steep ground. I'm sure I'm no different to any other conservation architect who, after he or she have surveyed a house through a quinquennial survey process, which is undertaken every 5 years, you really care for a property, and then when it comes to the repairs, you really care that they're done properly, and it becomes part of you. And I have to say that although it will never be apparent, there is a little bit of Richard Elphick, I like to think, in every single bit of this house.